Well, all right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the NTT Training web series. Again, this is webinar one of three, introducing the 2017 National Electric Code. My name is Brett Gallagher. I am the marketing manager with NTT Training. So I will be in the background here as the organizer for this webinar, but we do absolutely thank you for joining us today. I'm going to step back, hand this off to Randy Barnett and Mel Amundson. They are the SMEs for this, and they will be taking you through the updates here for NEC. Take it away, Randy. We're live and recording.
Okay, thanks, Brett. Hi, everyone. This is Randy Barnett. Welcome to an overview of the proposed changes to the 2017 National Electrical Code, or NEC. I'm here with Mel Amundson, and Mel and I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to attend the NFPA conference, the technical session, where the amending motions were voted upon for the 2017 NEC. And we also attended some specific training on the NEC and various topics that will be in the new code. And through our research and what we found out at the conference and so forth is what all of this information we're presenting you today is. So what you're going to see today is pretty much the 2017 NEC. As far as my background, I'm the program manager for electrical codes and safety here at NTT and have been with NTT for many years. I am probably most importantly, I'm a journeyman electrician by trade with well over 30 years of experience in the trade. I have two textbooks out, one on commercial and industrial wiring, which covers practical NEC applications. But I'll turn it over to Mel here in just a second, but one quick item. As we go through today, you may have some questions. So use that chat feature on your screen and go ahead and type in any questions as they pop in your mind, and then we will review the questions at the end of the webinar. If for some reason we can't get to all those questions, or if there are items that Mel and I need to look up and get back to you, we'll certainly email you and make sure that we get everyone's questions answered. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Mel.
Hi guys, Mel Amundson here. Just wanted to give you a heads up on what is new and what's coming out on the codes. As Randy said, we attended the NFPA National Conference. It was amazing to see, and I'll give you a little overview here in a few minutes of what all has been going on in the code. But over 2,000 changes, from little significant just marking changes to actual new articles out there. So I'm going to take you off the new articles here in a few minutes. My background, like Randy's, I came out of the utility industry, multiple years in that, and then ran my own electrical contracting company for a number of years, and have since gone into the training business. So it gives you a little bit on my background. So it's kind of an interesting group you've got here. Randy's in Colorado, Brett, he's in Michigan, and I'm in Florida. So it's kind of fun to do this. So let's take a look at the next slide there, Randy. This is a couple of the new articles that are out. What you're seeing is 5 new articles actually produced in this session. We're going to go into them. We actually have a session that'll get into the articles in particular, but just to give you a quick overview of some of them that are coming out. 425 out there. This is all about industrial process heating. They've actually expanded it. There were several other articles that covered some of this earlier, but felt there was a need to get more specific into industrial heating. 691 has gone from a part of 690, which was photovoltaic. 691 is large scale for the large installations, no less than 5,000 kW. So we're talking some big ones here, guys. So new code for that one. 706 out here, installed storage systems. At over, in excess of 50 volts and 60 volts. So we're, talking about a system that may be standalone or even interactive with the utility. 710 gets us out into standalone production systems out here. We're seeing more of that where we've got facilities, be it industrial sites, whether it be residential sites, where they've got their own entire electrical system. So this addresses that. 712 is now microgrid systems as well. where we're taking DC, we're storing it, and then dropping it back into a grid system, either being used as DC or AC, but doesn't have to be even connected still, though, with the primary AC system. So, but those are a few of the new ones. So Randy's got a couple of questions for you now.
Yeah, we were, one thing that's important is, where are you at on this code? We would like everybody to be on the most current edition, but in the real world, of course, we know that's not true. So I'd like to give you a few seconds if you just go ahead and answer that question. What current version of the NEC is in use within your jurisdiction where you're working? And so whether it's the 2014, the 2011, or the 2008 or previous editions, or you may work in different locations where different codes are in effect, or you may not even be sure. So go ahead if you would and answer those questions and as you can, and I'll give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and very close. Let's see where everybody's at. It looks like the 2014, you should see the results there, about 46%, so almost half of you are in the 2014 code. The 2011 still obviously has a strong presence, 12%. I'm a little surprised, 2008 or previous editions is at 11%. And obviously there are folks out there working for engineering firms, contractors, and whatnot, where you are all over the place. And then if you're not sure, that's great. So I'll get it back to Mel here. Okay, Mel?
Yep, good to go.
Okay. You got the code making process up there on your screen now?
Not yet. We're still seeing the poll.
Just hide the results there, Randy.
There we go. A little bit about the code making process. This is a process of literally, you and I know we see the code every 3 years, and this is kind of how it all comes together. You get a chance the first year to submit. So when the new code book is actually coming out later this year, you have up to a year to submit your code suggestions for the 2021. Then it goes to what we call the first draft committee, and you've got all of these code making panels that have individual articles that they work on, and they go through their hearings and they actually ballot them. And then approximately a year later, another second draft committee where in the meantime, all types of information comes in and they do the hearings on it, they ballot. Ultimately, we have our NFPA technical meeting, which is when Randy and I actually just got a chance to attend. The main blocks of code are going to come out of the second draft committee meeting. But comments can be submitted in what they call the NITNAM, Notice of Intent to Make a Motion hearings. This is where it can be changed actually on the floor of the technical meeting. So they have a chance to vote on it, go through it, and the NFPA members can then vote on it. Where we are right now is it's going to the Council of Appeals. At this point, up through July 20th, they have the ability to submit comments that is then approved through the Council of Appeals, and they'll issue the statement. That's where the little green arrow is and where we are now. Then we're going to see, after the 20th, it will be approved by the council, and then it will become our new code. So we're looking for a new code, the actual code out. So there still is potential for some changes to go on here. So the new one comes out then. We're looking for that in September or October for your new 2017 code book. So, all right, Randy, how about next one there?
Yeah, give you some information because people always ask, well, when's the new code coming out? If you go to the NFPA website, they'll give you their publication dates. The softbound edition that most of us are familiar with, and the ones that you do get in the NTT classes, that's scheduled to be published August the 26th, be available, I should say. But what's nice is the PDF is available on August the 10th, so that's right around the corner for us. And the handbook, people always say, oh, when can I get the handbook? They're looking at November 18th for the handbook. So if you can't wait to attend your class and and get your edition. Maybe you need that PDF. That's going to be available as early as August the 10th then. As far as the actual changes, and let's start Article 90, which actually appears before Chapter 1, has this kind of a minor change, but really is kind of important. It talks about, we've always said in 90.2a, what's covered by the code? What's covered, what's not covered? Always a discussion item in class then. And it's always, well, at least for many editions, has said the code covers the installation of conductors and equipment and raceways and so forth and so on, and it lists all the different types of installations. They're also adding the term removal. So in other words, now they're going to say it currently covers the installation and removal of conductors. And you panic and go, oh no, what are they adding about removal? It's already there. Think about it. Things like temporary wiring, temporary power installations we use in installation and maintenance. It already says we have to remove that, you know, immediately upon completion of our installation or maintenance work or whatever. So it's already there. We're just kind of bringing the wording in 90.2 up to what appears in the rest of the code. Also in 90.2b, on what's not covered by the code, they put the term energy storage systems in there. Now, don't panic, because there's a whole new article on energy storage systems. The new, or the clarification is that if the energy storage system is installed and controlled by the utility, then it doesn't, the NEC doesn't apply to that particular energy storage system, which should be, you know, no big surprise to us, because we already know that utilities typically not covered by the code, and they fall under the NESC, National Electrical Safety Code, and other regulations and so forth. So let's take a look. We'll have Mel explain to you a little bit on Chapter 1.
Yeah, what this is a little bit right on the front end are definitions. A few things have changed. Accessibility, you know, capable. How quickly can you get to them? They're making sure you're not crawling over equipment, that you don't need special tools to get to it, or have any obstacles that have to be removed, or even so much as have to get a portable ladder. The whole concept is capable of being reached quickly for operations. Cord connectors out there, they're talking about introducing points of termination and controlling it, dust ignition, flame-proof seals, so there, you know, new definitions with that, and then field labeling. You're going to see a lot of this coming about. In not only here, it's in the definitions, but also as we get out into our articles. So they're talking about putting a label on there, identifying mark from a field evaluation body that tells you, you know, about the equipment, the fault current, how it's, you know, been evaluated, and also when it's been evaluated. So some of the new, you know, some of the new definitions. So let's go take a look at the next slide out there a little bit. Also, some other things in Chapter 1 is installation. One of the new ones out there, you're going to see a requirement for torque tightening equipment out there. When a manufacturer specifies a torque rating, now your authority having jurisdiction may take a look at that and say, did you use a calibrated tool to do this with? So 110.16 out here, other than dwelling units, they're now talking about factory labels out here for fault. What is my available arc flash, or what is my warning label that needs to be on this? 110.21. Marking of reconditioned equipment. It's how it's, you know, how it has been approved and the date of that approval. And also they're saying that it cannot solely be based on the equipment's original listing. So new things on, you know, new info on reconditioned equipment. 1041 inspections. This one may get us out here. Pre-energizing and operational tests are now being asked for out there. So, you know, we're talking about, you know, looking at things, the settings of protective equipment, switching equipment, control circuits, and they have to be prepared in advance and then made available to your authority having jurisdiction, your inspectors and so on, and then tested when first on site out there. So a couple of new ones out there and so on. So I'll try to give Randy a little bit here in Chapter 2 then.
Yeah, when it comes to Chapter 2, actually Chapters 2, 3, and 4, there are tons of changes in those 3 chapters, and we're not going to possibly be able to go over all of those changes today. Now, of course, we have 2 more webinars upcoming. We're going today. I'm just going to give you the changes in chapters 2, and then we'll hit 3 and 4. But one of the first things we see is in 210.5 in subsection C, where we talk about labeling of different voltage systems. There's a new exception there that if I already have one voltage system in a building and then I'm going to add another voltage system, I only have to label that new voltage system as to its voltage levels and the identification of the conductors and so forth. Also, we're going to see an expansion of the identification of DC conductors to make it more in line with what's being done globally. In 210.8, no surprises here, they're expanding the requirements for GFCIs. In fact, you know, kind of gets me, I always thought, right, you had a GFCI within 6 foot of the edge of a sink. That always made sense to me, and I could understand that. But what is really within 6 foot of the edge of the sink? I thought I understood that. But anyway, so there's going to be some expansion of how you actually measure that within 6 foot of the edge of the sink. Also, we're going to see requirements in 210.8 for the need for 3-phase GFCI protection. And also, unfortunately, and remember, the whole purpose of the code, right, back in 90.1 is the practical safeguarding of people and property from the hazards arising from the use of electricity. Unfortunately, we had an electrocution. A gentleman was in a crawl space underneath I don't know if it was a home or a building or whatever, and backed into a lighting outlet that was down in the crawl space, which you can kind of get a picture of that in your mind. And the bulb was broken, or he broke the bulb or whatever, and he was electrocuted. Most unfortunate. So anyway, so now we see a new requirement that lighting outlets in crawl spaces in both dwelling units and other than dwelling units are going to have to be GFCI protected. 210.11 talks about the garage branch circuits, and there we're just simply going to have a requirement for each vehicle bay. It's going to have its own receptacle. Expansion of AFCI protection, of course, is in 210.12, and no surprises, that has been changing in the code in the last every edition since it's come out, and I believe, what was that, 2002? But you know, if you're protected in your house with arc fault circuit interruption, and you're going to go sleep in a hotel or a motel, shouldn't you be protected there? And so that's the reasoning behind the expansion for AFCI requirements into guest rooms and guest suites of hotels. And 210.52, there are several changes that go on. How we measure and this particular section talks about dwelling unit receptacles, and so it's talking about how we measure that wall space to how often we have to have a receptacle. That is going to change a little bit, and how we locate our receptacles along that wall, as well as peninsular and countertops. That is going to change as well, how we measure that. Grounding and bonding, also some changes in the world of grounding and bonding. One of the things that came out in the recent code edition was the low voltage suspended ceiling lighting. And now in 250.22, where 250.22 lists the circuits that are not to be grounded, it now lists low voltage suspended ceiling lighting is not to be grounded in. 250.30 talks about separately derived systems. And it's made it clear now that the building grounding electrode system must be used as the grounding electrode when we install that separately derived system. 250.52 is on grounding electrodes, and it's a pretty extensive section. And we've used the term, actually the way it words it. How does it word that? Something about we can use the metal frame of the building if it is in contact with the earth, and goes and gives a bunch of requirements. And often we use the term like Ufer's ground and things like that we get into from that point. But the new term we're going to find in the code now is that we can use a metal in-ground support structure. And so they're going to tell us what that is, of course. 250.66 talks about sizing the grounding electrode conductor. And there's been a term in there that's talked about the sole connection. And it was kind of confusing. So they've cleared that up they've actually removed that term, and they just simply say what they mean by the term sole connection now. Alrighty, Mel, I'll give you chapter 3.
Hey, my favorite one's coming up here. So, a couple of things on 3 out here. Tables, right off the front end, 300.5, that's our depth tables out here. What we're seeing is an addition to that as a note now allows for low voltage lighting, not more than 30 volts, to be buried as shallow as 6 inches if it's in conduit. So a lot of your decorative lighting and so on, that's what that addresses at. 314.27. Combination systems where I've got a support system built into a box. So I mount the box, and then you can actually mount a lamp or a fan. They've got a special fitting that it ties in. It not only supports fan, it provides the electrical circuitry to it as well. So this addresses that. It has to be listed, locking supports and mounting receptacles with these in 314.27. 336.10. Little bit on new cables out there. TC tray cable, if it's set up now, can be used in hazardous locations. There's to be another additional marking on the cable if it is rated for that. 366. This is one I think we've always done, and we've always put in cables like this, but what they're saying now is that conductors shall be installed in groups of not more than 1 conductor per phase, neutral or grounded conductor. Well, anybody that's pulled cable and pulled it through equipment and gear up has pretty much always done that. The whole idea is I don't get inductive heating or inductive reactance with this. So we've all done that. They're just defining it a little bit better. Taking a look at our next slide, I think you'll all like this one. Guess what went away? The rooftop adders. We've always struggled with those. It's like, okay, what is the ambient temperature we're supposed to use on the rooftop, and figure out which one of these portions of the table to use there. So for the new code, guess what? It's gone away, folks. You don't have to mess with it anymore, which I think we're all pretty much good to see that one gone. So here's one of Randy's tables here.
Yeah, this is this was in the 2011 code and previously, and it was taken out in the 2014 edition, which kind of gave people heartaches because then you couldn't have a table to use. And when I'm talking about it was nice we had a table in order to size our dwelling units, services, and feeders. And that went away, and we had to do the calculations then. The table's returning. The old table 310.15 B7 is coming back, but it's going to be found in Informative Annex D, with which is the table on, or excuse me, the annex on examples. So I believe it will probably be in Annex D7. And for instance, if we have a 200 amp service, we know that we need 2-aught conductors, copper, for that 200 amp service. The new requirements for short circuit current rating and available fault current on industrial control panels. That's not actually, it's not a marking that has to be on the panel. What we have to do is we have to find out how much short circuit current is available to that industrial control panel, and then we have to document that, and we have to make it available. It doesn't say we have to put the marking on the panel, but I often suspect to see it there. In 430.20, or excuse me, 422 on appliances, they've clarified the requirements for GFCI requirements and actually listed them out, and I'll kind of put all the GFCI requirements for appliances together. That'll make life a little easier for us. There's also a new section, 430.99, that is going to make us research and find out how much available short circuit current do I have to this MCC. I don't think it's going to require to be marked on the MCC. It is going to require to be documented, but I would most likely expect it to see a label on the MCC. And then, of course, we have the new Article 425 on fixed resistance and electrode process heating.
Okay. I was going to say, Randy, on that last one, on 430.29, there's a lot of new inspection stuff that's coming up on this, and I think that available for current, like you said, for the MCCs, they now may ask for that. So I think we're time to do a poll question here now, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We often get folks in our class who really are looking for specific information. I'm sure some of you are that way out there today. You already have a pretty good handle of what's going on. You can read the code. You'll see what's changed. It'll be highlighted in gray just as before. And you're maybe just looking for some specific information on your installation. So I'll give you a few seconds, 5 more seconds, to go ahead and answer true or false on that. And so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so that appears to be mostly true, about 63 to 38%, as you can see. I agree that you probably already have a good handle on those first 4 chapters.
Yeah, let's go take a look at what we got for now for 5 out here. Some of the things that are going on, the definitions are moving. Our hazardous classified location definitions at the beginning in 500 are now being relocated out into Chapter 1 in the definitions section. So please look for that to happen. A couple of revisions in here. Primary one in 501, which is Class 1 equipment out here. Class 1 Division 2 locations is what they're talking about, and one of the things they have eliminated EMT as a usable conduit in a Class 1 Division 2 location out here. So that's a change within that. 600 out here, signs, retrofitted signs where they've taken fluorescence, removed those, but still have some of the pins on the end and so on. So they still look a little bit like fluorescents, but they're actually LEDs. They now require a label to alert anybody who's going to service them. That's 600.4. 670 short circuit ratings. Industrial machinery, that's what 670 is out here, and they're looking at what is the available short circuit current out there. There's 2 parts. There's one, does it exceed the short circuit current rating of the equipment as it is marked? And 2, the industrial equipment shall now have a maximum available short circuit current marking on it as well at its point of power entry there. So, these are some new field marking that are being required out there. Within this one also is the new one, 691, large-scale photovoltaic by electric supply systems out here. And what we're looking at is a large-scale supply system, no less than 5,000 kW and not under control of the utility company. So, there's some new stuff with those guys as well out here. Take us out here a little bit in 7. 700.10 emergency circuits are to be marked. One of the things that Randy and I saw at the NFPA show is the fire people are very concerned with solar systems and the power systems that come to them, and any emergency circuits as well that are going, and they're really looking at them. Can we mark them so we know what they are? So you're going to see a new emphasis placed on some of this marking of emergency circuits on equipments, different components that are laid out there. 706 takes me as one of my newer ones out here, installed storage systems greater than 50 volts. So AC, 60 volts DC, maybe standalone or a standalone system, or could be interactive with another source as well. So those are my energies, baby. Huge battery packs. There's all sorts of different ways they're doing that nowadays. 710 gets me out to power production, where you have literally a facility that operates, as the term goes, off the grid. And so they're talking about these type of systems, make sure they are operating in a safe manner there. Then our DC microgrids 712 is power distribution systems, multiple interconnected DC systems. They may be going DC to DC systems internally or DC to AC systems out here, but are typically not connected to an AC system as a primary power support. So I've got an in-house DC grid, and this is the new code block is beginning to take a look at that one. So, all right, Randy.
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind because I sit there at these sessions and I go, we have a new article on what? Energy storage systems and so forth. Reason for these new articles, it's not that we suspect they're going to develop some new technology. This stuff is already being installed. They're already loading these batteries in big trailers and swinging them onto rooftops and hooking them into the electrical distribution system and buying electricity at night when it's cheap and discharging into the building during the day when the power is not available and so forth. So a lot of this stuff is already being done and it's being sold, it's being installed. But we didn't have any people were trying to, fit different sections of the code to these new systems to make it work. And now we actually have a place in the code where we can address that specific type of equipment. A couple other things, too, that come to mind as we're talking about this and some notes I had made. Even back in Chapter 4 on receptacles, remember Mel said we had a new definition for receptacles. And you go, really? Do I need a new definition on receptacles? Well, stop and think. We now have receptacles with USB chargers as part of the device. So now we have a class 2 power supply tied onto that same yoke as that 120-volt receptacle. So in Article 406, Section 3, we have requirements for listing and construction of those receptacles with the USB outlets. We also see some other changes, that term extra duty cover. We talk about, in a wet location, you got to use that extra duty cover and so forth. We now actually have a definition in Article 406 on receptacles for what an outlet box hood cover is, and they've clarified the information in 406.9 on use of that extra duty cover. Tamper-resistant receptacles, and we know, back to the purpose of the code and all that, but we're trying to keep kids from sticking things in receptacles and hurting themselves. So those requirements for tamper-resistant receptacles have only been in dwelling units. But we know kids are out there everywhere. So now we have a much larger list in 406.12 on where we're going to have to install tamper-resistant receptacles. Preschools, waiting rooms of medical clinics, any place where we would expect kids to be, we're going to have to use tamper-resistant receptacles now. And one of the another issue that I'm a big fan of this change is in 408.3. You know how it is, okay? Now, I'm not going to raise my hand, but anyway, you open up that main service panel, and even if you shut the main breaker off, you're still exposed to those main terminals coming in, even though you've killed the power down below on your branch circuits, and so now you're going to put a new branch circuit receptacle in there, or replace one or whatever. So now there's going to be a requirement that those main terminals be guarded, so that once you shut that main breaker off and you verify that the bus bars down below are de-energized, then you can go ahead and work on them as de-energized equipment. So I think that's a good positive change in 408.3. Well, that's a lot of information, about 35 minutes worth of information, and yet you can see we've barely really scratched the surface. We're going to have 2 more webinars. July 28th, we're going to address just changes in chapters 1 through 4. And on August the 18th, we're going to talk about some of the changes in 5 through 7, really. And we're going to get more into the large-scale photovoltaic systems, the energy storage systems, standalone systems, DC microgrids, and we'll go through the purpose of those and what they encompass, and the information is actually you'll see in the code on that. And that will be after the PDF of the code should be available as well. I've got our web addresses down there for Mel and myself. I mean, our email addresses for for Mel and myself. And so feel free to contact us as you need to if you have any questions. Whenever later on over the years, we get emails all the time. We get that. NTT, of course, offers some classes on the National Electrical Code where you would receive the National Electrical Code book, the 2017. We have our standard 3-day National Electrical Code for the 2017 NEC. We also have a course on practical applications of the NEC and facilities. We have our course that covers just the updates of the 2017 National Electrical Code. We also offer training on hazardous classified locations and specifically other use and here's your code and so you 300 that we or if your need is that we teach for you when you talk to the NTT office, then they can certainly work out a discount for that. Other than that, you'll receive an email as to sign up for webinars 2 and 3, maybe as early as tomorrow, but certainly by next week. And so pay attention to that. That'll have all of our contact information for getting in touch with NTT as well. So I'd like to thank you for attending for today. And Brett, do we have any questions? Or?
Yeah, so we do have a few questions. I wanted to address, there were some folks that chimed in and had some audio issues. So we want to apologize for that. If you are, of course, one of the first questions as well was, will these slides be available? We're working on that, and they very well might be available after the web series. So after webinar 2 and 3, we will be rolling out these recordings. So we apologize for any of those. And our first question comes in, Randy and Mel, how soon is the new code book going to be out? Do we have a specific date, time, that kind of thing?
Yeah, as I mentioned, August the 10th, the PDF will be available for download, and August the 26th, the soft bound edition available, and on the 18th of November, the handbook. As to where to get it, as I say, you can, of course, get it by attending an NTT class, but if you need it beforehand, you can, I always recommend going to the NFPA website, nfpa.org, and then go to their catalog, and they give different options as well. You can buy the spiral bound or the loose leaf edition and so forth.
Okay. We have another one that came in, and it asks, and this is getting more in depth on the technical content, but it asks, are we planning on talking about the changes in the emergency code, section 700, in the relation to branch circuit emergency light transfer switches, automatic load control relays, and directly controlled luminaries?
We're going to go, yeah. We'll go over in webinar 3. I mean, I'll make a note of that, and yes, we can discuss that. And we'll go over that in webinar 3.
Sure.
I might say something, Randy. This is Mel here, and that is that it was pretty surprising, kind of eye-opening. What we saw was some of the potential problems. Got to see a lot of slides of some pretty nasty-looking accidents that happened with just some of the systems you're talking about, and a large amount of trying to use in 700 in there to address some the emergency systems as well as the solar systems, and fires and things have been created by that, and problems when fire service personnel have been around that equipment as well. So yeah, I understand the concern there. And I think we should probably try and address that as well. So,
sure. One more question. Question is, why do they need a new article on the photovoltaic systems? Sorry about that.
Yeah. that that that's always one of my issues. I go, why do we need a new article on that? And I guess as Mel mentioned, we're talking 5 megawatt systems. So we're talking some huge photovoltaic systems and different technology, different types of equipment for installation was not covered in Article 690. Trying to use Article 690, which was the existing article on photovoltaic systems, just simply wouldn't work and created confusion. So they separated those systems out into 2 separate systems, the breaking point being 5,000 kW and rooftop mounting and so forth. So that's why the technology has changed. The work is being done. It's already being done in the field, and we needed to jump on board and help those folks out.
Well, I think that is it for questions, and we want to be mindful of everyone's time, so we'll wrap this up now. There were some that came in that said they asked or they thought there maybe was an accidentally skipped a page. So I'd encourage you folks, if you think there's some specific material Mel or Randy didn't cover or you want to hear more about, by all means, feel free to email them. And as Mel and Randy said, we will be kind of promoting these second and third webinars coming up. And we would love it if you guys come back. And hopefully this was helpful to you and your business. Anything else, Mel and Randy?
No, I appreciate everybody attending.
Yep, had a great time, and hope please send us some questions. Got anything? Hey, we'll try and get you some good info for it now. So have a great day.
Well, thank you much for NTT and everyone. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.